Cyberspace is also top of the agenda when President Obama meets with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jingping today in California. Chris Finan, a consultant for the Department of Defense on cybersecurity issues, joins us from Washington. Good morning, Chris.
Morning. How are you?
I'm great. Big news in cyberspace today. Now, we'll talk about the other news we've been getting overnight in a minute. But first, hacking, cyber spying. These are the two big things that we're probably going to be on the top of the agenda when the two presidents meet. In particular, Chinese taking U.S. trade secrets, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I think this is going to be a source of ideally candid discussion between the two leaders. Certainly it is of primary importance here in the U.S. as we look to curb the theft of intellectual property. We've heard the business community weighing in heavily on this with the administration and with Congress. So we know it's going to be top on the agenda. In particular, the theft of economic secrets. And the Chinese tend to have a different view of this, of course, just because the state is so much more intertwined in their economy. So ensuring that there's more of a common understanding on this issue, I think, will definitely be forefront as they meet. How
does President Obama thread that needle? Because we spy on the Chinese, we cyber spy on them a ton as well, and yet, so how do we complain to them and ask them to stop when we're doing the same thing?
Well, you're right. I mean, this is something that's been going on for eons. Spying is nothing new. However, state-enabled spying on companies to gain a competitive advantage, that's outside current international norms. And so I think that's going to be where the focus of the conversation will be ideally. And to your point, we may not have as much credibility on this subject as we did just a few days ago. We've given up a little bit of the moral high ground, but I do think, again, philosophically we can focus on saying, hey, you may believe the state should be more involved in the economy than we do, but we can agree that this is not acceptable international practice.
Okay, so we may be snooping on the Chinese government, but we're not snooping on Chinese corporations would be the idea, and so they should maybe stop that. But talk about internet freedom, privacy. These are other things that you've said should be discussed, but as you just mentioned, given this week's news, it'll probably be hard to do that.
So certainly human rights is always on the agenda with China. Internet freedom and privacy is part and parcel of that meta subject. And so, you know, it's generally a source of tension and disagreement between our countries, and one which, you know, at various points we've sort of agreed to disagree in order to move forward on some of the other agenda items. And so I certainly think that this will continue to be an important theme as we discuss cybersecurity and internet-related issues. The Chinese tend to have a different and broader view of cybersecurity, which can include restriction of online content domestically. Traditionally in this country, we've taken a much narrower view of cyber, focused on protecting threats over the medium. And so, yeah, I think this is going to be a difficult subject, probably one where we'll agree to have this policy disagreement in order to achieve progress on some of these other elements of cybersecurity.
Okay. Chris Finan, thanks so much for joining us from Washington today.